Every January, people feel pressured to reinvent themselves, to set a new goal, to establish a new discipline. And yet, by the time March comes along, most folks have fizzled out. I'm pretty goal orientated. And what I've discovered is that real change, I mean, sustainable change, the kind that lasts over a long period of time, that change doesn't come from pressure. It comes from creating long term structures. So, what I'll focus on for this year is not about a quick fix or a new beginning, even. It's about a structured review of what kept us, all of us, going last year, and at the same time, what happened to those areas of our lives that were left unattended. And I know if you're anything like me, there are a few things that were left unattended. For a long time, I used to set goals like many people do. I focused only on work, on productivity, on money. And make no mistake about it, focusing on those areas of my life served me well. The truth is, I live a pretty comfortable life today. Why? Because I did focus on some of those things. That said, even when I succeeded in the work area, when I was successful in school, there was something that was still missing. There was a disconnect that I experienced. And in the beginning, I couldn't quite put my finger on it. But eventually, I discovered that there was the structure, the overall structure of my life that had fallen apart. It was then that I discovered setting goals without actually tending to the full architecture of my life didn't serve me. So I started working on what I call life pillars. Some of you probably heard of them. It's not resolutions, not lofty promises, but pillars, because what you are building is not a list, it's a structure. It's a structure to hold you up, lift you up, create this container that's solid so that all the things you want to do and need to do to create the life you want, you can have. Now, I got to tell you, I do not have a problem with the word goals. But just in case some of you do, I like life pillars. And I don't have a problem with that either. Because when I think, excuse me, about pillars, again, I think about the container, those, those pillars around my entire life that help to build me up. So throughout this year, I'm going to return to my vision and values. Vision gives us direction, values shapes our character. January is different. January is when values, of course, meet application. Hopefully, January is when we stop asking what matters in theory and we start asking what matters in practice. Okay, so hold up. You might be thinking, if I think about January, why do I keep saying January when in fact I'm starting in March? Because in January is when we are raring to go. And then by March, we are giving up. Because unless we've got a reason to honestly keep going, we're going to say, forget it. This is way too much for me. I don't want to do it. So this is March. Let us begin. But before we get started, before we touch on any of the pillars, I want you to think about last year. Not to beat up on yourself. I don't want you pulling out a whip, beating up on yourself because you didn't accomplish what you set out to accomplish. But I want you to think about last year in terms of what we're going to build upon. But in order to move ahead, we must have the courage to honestly assess where we are and what we could have done differently last year. So here are 5 questions I want you to think about. And you might want to grab a piece of paper, a pen, even a blank notebook, because we're going to be looking at these 10 pillars over this year. And you're going to probably need a notebook, although I'll also provide you with my worksheets. Anyway, here are 5 questions. Number 1, what goals did you set last year? Number 2, which habits kept repeating even after you promised you were going to change? Number 3, what did you put off despite saying, this really matters to me? Number 4, what did you feel proud of how you handled your life or a particular situation last year? And number 5, what costs did you incur because of the choices that you made? And the cost could be emotional, it could be family, friends, it could be any number of things. But what was the price that you paid for making some of the choices that you made? That's what I want you to think about. Okay, we're going to start with the first pillar, and then I'm going to stop, and then you'll have an opportunity to just think through what this pillar is all about. And the first pillar I'd want to focus on is finance. Let's start with finance. Okay, finance is not just about numbers. Number one, it is not only about numbers. When we think about our finances, we think about stability. It's all about the choices that we make. It's about stress, believe it or not, because when finances are unstable, stress leaks in, and it leaks into every other area of our lives, like our health, like it affects our relationships, it affects all of our decision making. So I want you to reflect on last year without using any dramatic language. So let's just keep it simple. But I want you to use honest language. That's the key here. That's going to be the key throughout this year as we go through each pillar. You being honest with you. I'm not going to look at what you do. If you want to share it, that will be great. But mostly, this is for your benefit. So you can honestly assess where you are, where you want to be, how you get from where you are to where you want to be, and what got in the way last year. So, for example, regarding finance, did you have a month where you avoided even looking at your accounts because you were afraid of what you might find? Well, sometimes that happens with us. Did you spend more money than you actually had? Did you find yourself spending beyond your means? If so, well, what was the reason? Was it because you needed to feed your family or to cover essential household expenses? Or was there another reason? And sometimes, in being honest, we need to really answer that question and dig deep. Was there another reason for spending beyond your means? Well, I know for me, there were times in my past when I wanted to fit in with a crowd of people. So I made purchases in order for me to be able to look a certain way. I remember back in the day when I was actually putting myself through school, I could no more afford anything than I could the man in the moon. But you know what? I spent an awful lot of money on Gucci bags and Gucci shoes. You hear me? I had a whole ton of Gucci bags, and I had about 5 or 6 pairs of Gucci shoes. I could no more afford them than, again, the man in the moon. But I did it because I wanted to look the part of this new lawyer. Well, I ended up suffering for that. So I want you to actually honestly ask yourself that question. Um, did you spend beyond your means? And if so, why? There might be other times when, like for my mother, when I was growing up, my mom used to say, when I would look and I wanted something to eat that honestly I was already full, but my mother would say my eyes were bigger than my stomach because I wanted more. I thought I could have more, but my little tummy was already full. So I had to step back from the plate. Well, it's the same thing with finances. Are you spending beyond your means? On the other side, did your finances improve? Did you pay down a debt? Did you reduce unnecessary expenses? If so, that's great. And is there still more room for improvement? Something to ask yourself as we move forward in this year. And in particular, looking at the rest of this month. Did you create even a small buffer that made you feel less stressful? A grounded financial commitment is rarely glamorous. I'll tell you, when we are called forth to make these tough decisions, sometimes it's really hard. And because it's hard, well, once we accomplish those things, wow, is that the thing that self-esteem is built on? Because we become willing to take that small, esteemable act toward creating a sustainable life pillar. Okay, that's it for today. I want you to take a moment, write out those answers, and I'll check back in. Bye bye.